You're trying to win a Super Bowl in 2024. Where does Nick Sirianni, Vic Fangio, Kellen Moore, and the rest of the Eagles coaching staff rank among the top 10 in the NFL? Zach Berman and I debate it coming up next on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a high noon Wednesday. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, here to talk about the coaching staffs in the NFL. Zach, how you doing?
Doing well. Excited for the show.
Boom. Let's get it going.
Yeah, I did want to ask you. We mentioned it out there. I always like to get right into the show, but I did think when I saw the Willie Mays news, his passing, I wanted to know your memories growing up, not of Willie Mays.
Well, I'm not that old.
But please let me finish, Bo. You grew up in a household that has an appreciation for baseball and baseball history. What was the role of Willie Mays in the Wulf family?
He was my godfather.
I don't think that's an asinine question.
No, I mean we had a nice back and forth on the family text thread last night. About
there you go.
Mays.
You could just answer that before.
Well, but you didn't ask that. You asked what was his role in my household.
Okay.
I don't know. He was the babysitter. I don't know. I'm going to tell you.
All right.
Yeah, I think there's a one of a kind. What else can you say about Willie Mays? You know my favorite Willie Mays stat?
Let's hear.
Before he was called up, when he was in AAA, I think as a 21-year-old in 1951, he had about 150 at-bats. You know what he was hitting?
You've said it before.
477.
That's like Bo Wulf territory.
That's insane.
Yeah, what'd you bat in high school?
In high school, probably somewhere just a little bit above 300. Yeah. High on base percentage, though. Good eye. Willing to take a walk.
That's solid.
Just like Willie.
Yeah. 667 for me.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I think we could probably work out the math there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No. I mean, and all the great stories. What more is there to say? And also, like a year and a half of his prime. You subtract that from the totals. Best player of all time. What else is there to say?
Agree. Best player of all time. He was always the guy growing up who, like, the name Willie Mays was. The thing that came to mind is the best baseball player of all time. The same way when you say basketball, it's Michael Jordan, right? Hockey, Wayne Gretzky. Growing up, it was always Willie Mays, the best baseball player of all time.
And who was it in football for you, Zach?
When I was growing up, it was Jerry Rice. Now it's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but nonetheless, Willie Mays, the best baseball player of all time.
Okay. And what was the role that he played in your household?
My household, so honestly, I loved Ken Griffey Jr. as a kid, right? And so you want to know, like, the history of 24. And so then you learn about Willie Mays, and you and I are the same age. I couldn't go down, like, YouTube rabbit holes back then, right?
True.
And so I remember specifically the ESPN Sports Century, and I loved the all those ESPN Sports Centuries, but the Willie Mays one in particular was when I had the most exposure to watching him play, and just like how graceful he is, and the stories that always lingered with me, because I read all those baseball books growing up. Like, any type of baseball book I read is him playing stickball outside his apartment.
Yeah.
I could just imagine
that building still stands.
That must be like the coolest thing in the world, to have the best baseball player playing stickball with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss stickball.
You miss stickball?
Yeah, stickball was fun.
Okay.
Okay.
Were you good? I imagine you're good at stickball. You have good hand-eye coordination.
I do have good hand-eye coordination,
Yeah.
just like Willie Mays. Yeah, we didn't play a lot of stickball, but I like a stickball. Did you ever play stickball?
Variations of it, yes.
Okay. All right. Well,
now you're gonna say that's our show, everybody. That's your Bob Costas joke for the show. Yes.
Yeah, that's about right. All right, Zach. Our exercise today. Now that all the people who don't like to listen to non-Eagles talk can complain and turn off the video.
Yeah, they did not want to hear about your softball yesterday. That one.
That one guy didn't, but everybody came to the.
Everyone came to your defense. Both sent his minions out.
I didn't send anybody out.
Is there a group text for that, by the way? When all those people like defend you at once, you say go after them.
No, because I don't talk to the people like you do.
You say that like a badge of honor.
Well, just the minions are the minions. They don't need me to tell them what to do.
Fair enough.
What else would you like to do to waylay things today?
Oh, I'm the one who does that. Okay. I asked you about the passing of the best baseball player of all time. Yeah. First show ever. You want to get right into the coaching staff, huh? Okay. All right, let's do it. I'm excited for this conversation.
All right. So we on Monday we did the NFL weapon rankings, right? The entire rosters of the wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs across the league. We both had the Eagles about fourth. And by the way, I do think we should circle back on the rumors that the Niners are trying to trade Brandon Ayuk, like how much that would change
quite a bit.
Rankings, quite a bit.
Yeah,
I would say we'll probably move the Eagles up a spot.
Yeah, I don't think Ricky Pearsall is at the same level as Brandon Ayuk now.
I agree with that. So today we want to do the full staff, and the Eagles have Frankensteined this staff together. They have kept Nick Sirianni as the figurehead, the CEO, if you will. Imported Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore and a few of their acolytes, while also keeping some Sirianni guys around the building. You've still got Jeff Stoutland. That's impressive. How would that group rank? How does that group rank in our minds with the rest of the league, the rest of the league's coaching staffs? And I think this one is fun. I imagine we're going to have the same number one, but I think we'll probably have a little bit of maybe more variance from 2 to 10 than we did the other day. How did you go about this exercise? What was your operating procedure?
So the challenge here was, what weight do you place on the head coach? For a few reasons. First off, head coach is the one who, like, the wins and losses are on him, right? The offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, position coaches, you're not looking at, you don't have that tangible record. You can look at offensive rankings and defensive rankings, but someone like Mike Tomlin or John Harbaugh or Kyle Shanahan, right? There's a track record there. And then oftentimes, because you're successful as a head coach, you are replacing your staff, right? So someone like Kyle Shanahan replaces his staff. Someone like John Harbaugh replaces his staff. So if they're not replacing it with the big name, that's not always the case. It's not always the case that person has the great reputation, but the person they promote or the person they hire might be the next Joe Mazzulla, right? So that's
come on.
Joe Mazzulla is an NBA winning head coach, and you're giving me a come on?
Yeah, that's a Brad Stevens team. Joe Mazzulla is not that good of a coach.
Oh, come on. Okay.
His team was by far the best. What did he do?
He coached them.
He didn't do anything.
So tell me you haven't watched the Boston Celtics without telling me you haven't watched the Boston Celtics.
That's fine.
Right there.
I think they could have won the title with you.
Their level I'd be a pretty good coach, but their level of preparedness, the attitude you get from Joe Mazzulla, the personality, like Joe Mazzulla is awesome.
Wasn't he like laughed out of the league last year for how much he was outcoached in the finals?
Believe it or not, you can get better.
Okay.
And it wasn't the NBA Finals last year. He lost to
in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, to Spoelstra.
Yeah. There's a good coach.
But no, I think Mazzulla's done awesome this year. And I have great respect for him. I covered him a bit when he was at West Virginia. Back-to-back NCAA tournaments. And I was actually looking it up the other day in my Gmail. A number of Joe Mazzulla stories there. So he filled it up.
Okay, so no wonder you like him. That's the fuller picture. Thank you.
No, I binged on Joe Mazzulla interviews during like the past 36 hours and really impressed by him. But nonetheless,
what a life you live.
Okay.
I binged on Joe Mazzulla interviews.
Yeah. Nonetheless, I meant
you're really taking advantage of this lull in the NFL calendar.
I mean, you should. you should get better, or you can stand still. Like if you're standing
Dad,
still,
let's have a catch. Hold on.
if you're standing still,
I'm
you're falling
listening
behind.
to this Joe Mazzulla press conference from January 19th.
My kids do go to sleep, right? And so when they go to sleep, what am I supposed to do? Go to sleep, or I'll go deep on Joe Mazzulla.
Okay, so let's actually unpack this.
Oh God!
If you're not getting,
Right,
if you're standing still, you're getting better. What made you better about the 36 hours of Joe Mazzulla content you binged?
Learning a lot about him. Honestly, learning about his coaching philosophy, his background, his personality, the people with whom he consults. Yeah, there's value in that. If you're trying,
so for your Joe Mazzulla book that you're working on.
No, okay. Leadership's leadership. Coaching's coaching, right? No, I've read about different soccer coaches to learn about their styles. I've read about hockey coaches. I've read it. Yeah, coaching. Yeah, leaders are leaders. You can learn. If you're closed-minded toward learning, then you're not going to learn. If you're open, like you can learn from everywhere. If the best custodian comes in here, I want to see what the best custodian's doing so I can learn. I'm not going to back away from that.
Yeah, but that's not really the point.
So Joe Mazzulla
there are probably lots of other. If you're just looking to learn, there are probably many more. There are definitely many more interesting things to learn from than Joe Mazzulla interviews.
Well, if I'm trying to learn, I mean, I don't have an audience with Joe Mazzulla right now. So the next best thing is the interviews that he has.
Yeah,
and
but
the
stop
articles
treating Joe
about
Mazzulla
him.
like he's like Bill Belichick.
He just won a champion. Why are we going down this rabbit hole? I gave a reference that you could promote.
So you have Mazzulla in your top five.
No, you could promote from within. So my point is, my point is that Dan Pitcher, the Cincinnati offensive coordinator, might be like Joe Mazzulla, right?
Okay.
Even though he has not been an offensive coordinator. So you really sidetrack that. So when I look at like the Washington Commanders coaching staff, okay, a staff that I will talk about here, Cliff Kingsbury, he comes with a certain cachet as an offensive coordinator. What's to say that Dan Pitcher won't be?
Wait a second, you're going to have the Commanders in your top 10?
Yes, I will have.
No way! Are you serious? Oh my God, I can't believe that.
All right.
Wow. So this is good. This is going to get spicy.
How about we start with our number
top
one?
10. They're in my like bottom 5.
How about we start with our number one? Arizona Cardinals.
That's good.
That was a joke.
I think we should still work our way back. But,
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. That's fascinating to me. Okay. Do you want to talk about? I guess we can.
I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated that's such a controversial take.
I mean,
you even said you had a hard time after one deciding. Yeah. So
I've got like a 2 through 15 that I found difficult. Then I've got like the ones that were clearly like not bad, maybe like the 16 to 22 range, and then I have about 10 teams that are just X'd out, no thought, like absolutely not. And Washington is absolutely one of those teams.
Well, there is a little bit of Carolina Panthers from last year where they thought they had this like dream team staff and then it discombobulated. So perhaps it's that I don't feel strongly about the Commanders.
We'll get to it whenever it is you have the Commanders. I don't know, like top 4 or whatever it is. But
number 2.
All right, you want to start with your number 10?
People are killing me in
honestly,
the chat right
it
now.
may be the worst take in the history of the show.
The worst take in the history of the show. Okay.
All right. Do you want to go with your number 10? Well, hold on. Let me just say the way that I was going about it. Obviously, offense is king, right?
Okay. You always yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm trying to win a Super Bowl. I'm trying to have a good team. Offense matters more, and so if I have a predictably good offense, that's the most important thing that I can have. Obviously, that's overweighting other stuff. If there are a couple, position coaches around the league who make a little bit of a difference, but there are not too many of those. And to your point about like the replaceability of the coordinators, like John Harbaugh has done a good job replacing his coordinators over the years in the past, and so you can sort of rely on that a little bit. But yeah, I mean. Offense is king.
So then let me ask you this then, okay? Because I'm serious. One of the teams I had a hard time with here was the Los Angeles Rams. Mm-hmm. They have in my mind an elite head coach. Mm-hmm. Okay, Their defensive coordinator, Chris Shula, we're still learning it. Like, we don't know much about him. Their offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, he's still like, so I'm saying, so if I didn't want to make, the point is I didn't want to make this a head coaching ranking, right?
Yeah, but
if I'm just making a head coaching ranking, I'm not putting the Commanders in there. If I'm just making, like, I don't have the Rams in here. I think
it's very clearly to me. Would you trade the entire Eagles coaching staff for the entire coaching staff of the other team?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would trade.
The head coach obviously matters.
So literally, the way this conversation started was I said I had a hard time with how to weigh the head coach.
Yeah.
Because if I'm doing just the top 10 head coaches, Sean McVay's really high on my list. If I'm doing the coaching staff, I probably didn't put enough weight on the head coach then.
Okay.
Because what I'm doing here
we'll see how it plays out then.
Yeah. So that's where when you talk about the methodology, I looked at the coordinators, I looked at their experience as coordinators, I looked at the style of play that they have. I looked at, like you said, other notable coaches on their staff, coaches who have, if you have a quarterbacks coach who has coordinator experience, that jumps out to me. If you have, linebackers coach who has significant coordinators experience, that jumps out to me. Like on the Eagles staff, I like the fact that Clint Hurt, who's been a defensive coordinator in this league, has had success overseeing defensive lines. Now he's their defensive line coach, right? So I rank the Eagles really high because of like the overall composition of their staff. Whereas I wouldn't put Nick Sirianni over Sean McVay. So that's where I'm saying the challenge for me in assembling this list was, what weight do you put on the head coach in particular?
Yeah, I think we will find out that I probably put a little bit more weight on it.
And so honestly, so after the show, on Monday, the offensive skills, I went back after the conversation. I said I would do this differently. That's what's great about the show, is that you talk about it, you think about it, and part of it's like leadership. You change your ideas with more information. I imagine after the show, as I hear your point, and I say, that's a good point, I don't buy that point as much, I'm going to reconfigure my list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's your number 10?
The Washington Commanders.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh, I thought they were even higher than that.
No, number 10.
All right. Sell me on the Washington Commanders at number 10 because woof.
Yeah, okay. Dan Quinn.
They're like 8th choice.
Okay, I mean,
you know what?
I might have been my wife's choice.
That's unfair,
I think I'm the best
because
choice.
Doug Peterson was not the Eagles'
Yeah,
top
exactly.
choice. That's fine. That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Come on.
I know for a fact I've had jobs where I wasn't the first choice, right? So it's not whether you're the top choice, it's whether you're the right choice. And Dan Quinn, I liked him when he was the Falcons a coach. It got stale at the end, as most things do. It's very seldom that a head coach leaves on like a high note. But he had a real good run there. He's very well respected within the league, strong organizational skills. I've spoken to players who've played for him. They speak highly of him. I thought the work he did in Dallas was outstanding. There's a reason why he was hotly pursued the last 2 cycles, because he has a good reputation.
I mean, he wasn't that hotly pursued this cycle.
He interviewed at a few places, didn't he?
He only got one offer, and it was as the backup to the backup to the backup.
Okay. Yeah, so I think Dan Quinn, if you're talking about head coaches who've brought their teams to the Super Bowl, who brought their teams to multiple playoff appearances, it's a very small, it's a very narrow list. Dan Quinn's one of those coaches. Is he not? Like, if you talk about...
Yeah, but I mean, are we just stacking resumes? Is that how you just look at everything?
No.
Like, have a little foresight.
Okay, yeah. Cliff Kingsbury, I thought, was overmatched at the end as a head coach. I think as an offensive play caller, he's an experienced play caller. Okay. There's a reason, like the Eagles really liked Cliff Kingsbury. The Eagles were very interested in hiring Cliff Kingsbury. Joe Witt Jr. is someone who I've heard great things about. Okay. And then you look at the coaching staff. Brian Johnson has been a quarterback's coach for, he's was inconsistent last year as a play caller. But I like Brian Johnson on that staff. Ken Norton Jr. has been a defensive coordinator in this league, right? So I think that's a solid DC. I'm not like pounding the table for the Washington Commanders. I'm saying that if I made a spreadsheet of head coaches, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, notable coaches, the amount of the experience that they had, the reputation that Joe Witt brings, the fact that he's working with Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn brought him over from the Cowboys. I know the way the Eagles defensive coordinator spoke about, I'm sorry, the Eagles coaching staff spoke about that Cowboys defense in the past. So as I say this, there are other, I would rather have the Rams coaching staff because of Sean McVay. If I could trade the entire Commander
So you
staff,
don't have the Rams in the top 10.
I
This
don't.
is the weighting of the head coach.
Yeah, that's the weighting of the head coach because
that's wild to me,
I
by
didn't
the
know how to properly weight Chris Shaw. I didn't know how to properly weight Mike LaFleur. But as I'm saying this out loud, I would change that if the way I'm doing this is, would you trade this coaching staff for that coaching staff? Then yeah, I would take Sean McVay over about 7 of these staffs that I rank.
But that's the exercise.
But then we're just doing head coaching rankings.
No,
essentially.
because there are ties to break, and
okay, yeah.
I mean, it's like
so then yeah. So if I came back tomorrow,
but if you're just accumulating how many how many coaches on the staff have been Peter principled and have been demoted back to the role that they should be in, that's
but the role you should be in, I remember speaking to Jeff Stoutland about this the summer of 2016-17, and I asked him if he has aspirations of being a higher coach than an offensive line coach. And first off, he said he's done it before, which is true. But he said you look at where you excel, where you can affect people, where if you frame it in as far as the Peter principle, it's a negative thing. If you have the defensive line coach from the 49ers, Chris Kosoric, he's had a lot of success in that role. You don't have to convince me that he needs to be a defensive coordinator when he's had a lot of success in that role. So the Peter principle might not if I always say own your role, excel in your role. And if Ken Norton Jr. is a great linebackers coach, then if Brian Johnson's a great quarterbacks coach, right? If Cliff Kingsbury is a great offensive coordinator, which he hasn't been.
He's never been.
No, he's never been. He hasn't been an offensive coordinator since he was at
4 years as a head coach.
Since he was at Texas A&M. Yeah, he hasn't been an OC since he was at Texas A&M.
Right.
But
I think you're vastly overrating Cliff Kingsbury.
Fair. I don't feel strongly about the Commanders one. I feel strongly here about my top 7, and then after that, I had a hard time after 7. There were 7 staffs that I really liked.
Okay.
Yeah. Who was your number 10?
My number 10 is, and this one's tough because it's a striking hard balance of this head coach brings a lot of energy, going to make the team better. The offensive coordinator did a really good job with a rookie quarterback last year, but it's distracting to have such a handsome head coach. Are you going to be able to focus on the task at hand over the course of 17 games with DeMeco Ryans staring you in the face? I might get distracted. But, I
had the Texans on my list, but they didn't make my 10. They were close.
And this is one where 10, 11, 12, I was really debating back and forth. And I think the team that ended up 11, I think you will have in your top 10. But this is one where the depth of the staff made a difference to me. Your boy Corey Unlin is the defensive pass game coordinator. Gerard Johnson was getting interviews for a offensive coordinator job. Seems like on the up and up. I didn't realize quite how many ex-Eagles were just on this staff.
Bill Davis?
From Matt Burke to Bill Lazor, Billy Davis, Dino Vasso. That was interesting. But
sometimes you hire people
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
And so DeMeco is not the most in-game fourth down aggressive coach in the league last year. That matters to me a little bit. But from a defensive game planning perspective, from an energy perspective, I'm giving them the number 10 spot. And I thought that Slowick, given what he had at his disposal last year, did some interesting things.
Yeah, I won't kill you there. I mean that's a sensible thing. I had that staff in my other receiving votes.
Okay. Before we get to your number 9, Zach, let's talk about our friends. Specifically, our friend, Dr. Andrew Cohen at Sleep Healthy PA. At Sleep Healthy PA, they are committed to helping Philadelphia residents stop the snore and find solutions for sleep apnea that will allow you to rest well and improve your health. What causes sleep apnea? Well, it's that choke point. It's that choke point in the throat that causes snoring. That's kind of like a kink in a garden hose. And what Dr. Andrew Cohen can do is help unkink that bad boy. Dr. Andrew Cohen, board certified in dental sleep medicine, and his staff will work one-on-one with you to provide first-class care that will meet your needs. Many physicians are not equipped to provide other options outside of CPAP machines, and more than anything, Dr. Andrew Cohen just wants to see his patients healthy. His team is committed to stopping the snore. Tell him PHLY sent you and receive 15% off your initial workup. This is a two-pronged process for the initial workup, a 2-hour initial exam split into 2 sessions, the information gathering with the medical history and imaging, and then the reviewing of results and sharing of recommendations. Once again, if you are experiencing sleep apnea and are looking for a custom solution to stop the snore, reach out to Dr. Andrew Cohen at sleephealthypa.com or call 215-337-2501. Tell him Zach Berman and PHLY sent you.
My wife's in real estate, so invariably our dinner table conversation turns into how competitive this housing market is, and mortgage rates and pre-approval, things of that nature. So the place you got to turn is Mortgage CS. Today's real estate market, like I said, it's ultra competitive. Prospective home buyers, perhaps just like you, are missing out on opportunities to win the perfect home. But why? It's because they did not have Mortgage CS in their corner. It may be news to you, but the mortgage company you choose matters more than ever. Even if you are already in the market, you can still explore your options with Mortgage CS. This is home financing, not a marriage. You may be shocked at how much money you can save. Mortgage CS is an independent mortgage broker in the Philly area. This means that they won't steer you to just one mortgage option of what's best for you. They work for you, not the banks. Ben and Alec at Mortgage CS will ensure you have a rock-solid pre-approval, and they'll take the time to explore anything you want. What a novel idea. That's why Mortgage CS is the mortgage concierge service. The real estate market is competitive, so you can rely on Mortgage CS to help you understand where you can be flexible in your offer to buy a home without taking on unnecessary risks. In the end, you'll be so happy you texted Ben, the CEO of Mortgage CS, at 267-391-7425. There's a reason people win more with Mortgage CS, so call or text Ben now at 267-391-7425 and see for yourself. You can also go to www.mortgagecs.com/PHLY to check them out or view their 370-plus perfect 5-star reviews by searching Mortgage CS right now. Tell them PHLY sent you. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. The company NMLS ID number is 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com for more information.
What do you got at number 9, my friend?
Number 9, the Arizona Cardinals. The Minnesota Vikings. And I have the Minnesota Vikings here. Again, Kevin O'Connell in 2 years has had success. Not the playoff runs, but has had success. I really like Brian Flores as a defensive coordinator. I feel like his units are always kind of competent, well prepared. We saw last year they gave Jalen Hurts some trouble. Wes Phillips, still kind of learning more about him as an OC. He has been there for 2 years, but that's Kevin O'Connell's show. They get Josh McCown on that staff. They have Mike Pettin on that staff. So they have some recognizable names there. Pettin has
Keenan
head coach
McCardle.
Keenan McCardle, your boy with the Jaguars growing up, well regarded as a wide receivers coach. So this is one where I would like if the head coach had a little more success. Again, to use the argument, I would probably trade the Vikings for the Rams. But when I look at the overall staff, I think Brian Flores is what really pushes this for me.
I like the Vikings rather. I did not have them in my top 10 or my top 12, but they're in that sort of like 15 range. I think you made good points. I don't begrudge you on that one. Certainly not nowhere near the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, I don't feel. I will back off the Commanders by the end of this.
I'm very curious to see how the offense looks this year with
Without
whoever
Cousins.
the quarterback is.
Who do you think it's going to be? Do you think it's going to be Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy?
I think it'll probably be Sam Darnold for the first 4 games, and then it'll be J.J. McCarthy. They'll probably do that old song and dance.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think it's gonna be Darnold too, but I'm of the opinion with the quarterback, just put him out. Like unless you're gonna sit him for the year, like Patrick Mahomes did, put him out there.
Well, McCarthy's so inexperienced as a thrower. It's like I would like him to get those reps.
Sure.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
but yeah, I don't know. Number 9 for me is the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, okay, I had the Ravens much higher. I
Okay.
think we're gonna have a different top 5. This is interesting.
Okay. Now they lost Mike McDonald.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they would be much higher. But John Harbaugh has done an excellent job backfilling the staff over the years in some of the ways that you were talking about. I was looking up the last 5 seasons, teams who have been top 10 in DVOA in all 3 phases. Okay, this has happened 10 times over the course of the past 10 seasons. The Ravens have done it 3 different times, more than any other team, and they've done it with 3 separate sets of coordinators.
Great nugget right there.
Over that time. So I trust in Harbaugh in terms of a game manager. He does, although he has backslid just a little bit, but he does the things that I would care about. He's aggressive on 4th down. I'm probably not quite as high on Todd Monken after last year as some people are, but I would say I trust in the stewardship of John Harbaugh enough to even with some questions about the rest of the staff, put them at number 9.
Yeah, the Ravens are my number 5. I liked what Todd Monken did last year. I thought their offense opened up quite a bit, and I've heard terrific things in the league about Zach Orr, who was a real good linebacker for them. Got injured. He's kind of worked his way up to coaching staff. I know people have played for him. I know people have worked with him, and like people I trust, and they say this guy's a rising star in the coaching business. And I will also say that John Harbaugh's had just a keen eye for defensive coordinators during his time there. Like identified Mike McDonald to come back. Rex Ryan he inherited Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan had success there. He's had Wink Martindale had a lot of success there. I think that John Harbaugh seal of approval is there in Zach Orr when he was a player, like future head coach, and they had
part of the problem, right, is that if you're talking about the whole staff, not only did they lose Mike McDonald, but they also lost Denard Wilson and they lost Anthony Weaver to coordinator jobs elsewhere, and so the full picture of the defensive coaching staff, even if Zach Orr is a rising star, has taken a hit.
True. Chuck Smith has a great reputation with pass rushers. He used to be a private pass rush coach. T. Martin's kind of worked his way up in the Ravens system after being in college for a while. George Godsey has experience as a play caller in the NFL, so that's why I have the Ravens 5.
Okay, who do you got number 8?
My number 8 is the Miami Dolphins.
I also have the Miami Dolphins at number 8. How about that?
Wow.
A little shake of a hand.
Yeah.
All right.
Finally, I agree with brilliance here. Mike McDaniel. I'm sorry, Mike McDaniel. I think he's acquitted himself well during the past 2 years. Frank Smith, someone who I thought might get a head coaching job. But then it might just be that I talk to people in Baltimore sometimes. Anthony Weaver is another guy I've heard really good things about.
Offense is king for me. Mike McDaniel, 2nd in offensive DVOA last year, 6th the year before that, 6th in his 1 year as an offensive coordinator for the Niners. It's basically that easy. Now, he's had a lot of talent in both stops, but I think that's enough to push him over the contenders who I would have at like 11, 12, 13. So there you go.
In 2015, I wrote an article in the Inquirer on Jonathan Krause, who is now an assistant there. Jonathan Krause, former Eagles receiver, went to Vanderbilt.
There you go. I'll jump in. I'll give you my number 7. And I feel like this is one that you will probably not have in your top 10. And this is on the strength of the head coach, who I think is underrated as a head coach. Now, they've got a new defensive coordinator in Jeff Hafley from Boston College. Adam Stenovich is the OC, but this is Matt LaFleur's offense. What he did last year, post Aaron Rodgers, with a quarterback playing for the first time full-time with all of those young parts on offense, I thought was really impressive. 6th in offensive DVOA last year with all of those new spots. Yes, he had Aaron Rodgers, but never outside of the top 12 in offensive DVOA over the course of his tenure as a head coach. 4 of the 5 in the top quartile. His only time running an offense that was the bottom third of the league was the 1 year he was in Tennessee that predated his time in Green Bay.
Poor Mariota.
And so I trust in Matt LaFleur. I think that he is probably a little bit underrated because of the Rodgers connection. What he did last year meant a lot to me.
Yeah, good point. If I was going just with the head coach ranking, I would have him up there. As I said, or as you referenced, some questions about the staff. Although Jeff Hafley, he was on Chip's staff in San Francisco, and I remember hearing back then like this
I
guy
might have to bump him down.
this guy Sharp, Ohio State, then Boston College did a decent job recruiting New Jersey when he was with Boston College. Got out at the right time, I imagine. But yeah, I don't have them in my top 10. Again, I won't fight you on that one. I just think that.
Yeah, I think this is the difference of the way that we went about it.
Yeah.
Okay, who do you have at number 7?
My number 7 is the Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay, I do not have the Chargers in my top 10. They were my 11.
Okay, I like this Chargers staff. First off, Harbaugh has had a lot of.
Who's got it better than them?
Nobody.
6 other staffs, according to you.
Jim Harbaugh has been successful literally wherever he's coached. University of San Diego, Stanford, San Francisco 49ers, University of Michigan. And the Los Angeles Chargers are going to be successful with Jim Harbaugh.
I think they will too.
He is an elite coach. He's, similar to Dan Quinn. He's brought his team to the Super Bowl. He's brought his team to championship games. He's won a national championship. Okay. Greg Roman is someone who I think is a high level OC. I thought he kind of reached his, the stale point, if we'll call it that, the expiration date with Baltimore. I was fine with that change, but I like Greg Roman as an OC. He's also from that way. He's from South Jersey.
Atlantic City area?
Yeah. Right? Yep. Jesse Minter, someone we talked about during the coaching search. Yep. Real creative DC. I think they have a decent staff behind him. Mike Elston has a good reputation as a D-line coach. Mark Trestman's coached in the NFL before, coached in Canada before. I can go on down the list. But yeah, I was actually thinking of putting the Chargers a little bit higher here.
I'm not. I don't really disagree with any of that. I think I'm a little bit. I don't love the Greg Roman offense.
Okay,
which is part of.
It's a weird fit for Justin Herbert.
It is right.
Yes,
and it doesn't seem as plug and play for every team.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're just like, I'm starting a franchise, this is my staff. Yes. Like you need a little bit more specificity with Greg Roman, and it is a weird fit with Herbert. But this is a good staff, and I do think that like. The risk with Harbaugh is that, like, over time, he wears on people a little bit, right? But certainly for a couple seasons, you would probably sign up for that. So I don't disagree with that. They were my 11.
Okay.
All right, you want my number 6?
Yes.
My number 6, Zach, is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Interesting. Okay, you and I disagree on the Eagles. You want to save this conversation for the end, or do you want to get into the Eagles now?
We can talk about it now. Do
you
want to say where you have them?
I have the Eagles too.
Really?
I have the Eagles too. Yep.
Huh. I'm surprised. I think that the risk with the Eagles staff is that it looks really good on paper, but the parts may not all fit together.
Okay.
These are...
But literally what we're doing now is judging parts, aren't we?
I'm judging the staff.
Okay.
And like the Fangio track record, we can get to it when we talk about the Cleveland Browns. But like the Fangio track record is not as good as like the reputation necessarily because everybody has copied him, but the results do not speak the same language. Now I actually I thought about putting them even lower, but I think Stout makes a big difference here. And like just to have the best offensive line coach in the league makes a big difference. I mean, I don't know. The offense was super stale last year. Kellen Moore's offense in LA last year was not that great. I'm not 100% convinced that the offense is going to be great. Now, what also matters to me a lot is Nick's willingness to go for it on fourth down. That's why they're this high for me. But I think there is a risk that all of the parts do not work together very well here. And that's why for instance, I'm going to have the Rams next because of Sean McVay. I'm pretty confident of what I'm going to get from the Rams coaching staff next year, even though I don't know what their defense is going to look like. I don't know. There's a degree of mystery about what this what this coaching staff is going to do this year.
Yeah, I would actually argue that there's more mystery about coaches who haven't done it yet than like Vic Fangio has like a 2.5 decade resume of overseeing defensive of teams.
Here's his resume over the past 9 years. 19th in DVOA, 21st in DVOA, 15th in DVOA, 11th, 1st, 14th, 24th, 30th, 5th.
Mhm.
It's an average of like 16, basically.
Okay.
Middle of the road. 9 years, 2 top 10, 2 bottom, or 2 top 8, 2 bottom 8. Like, that's a long track record of solid.
Mm-hmm.
That's not like moving the needle. Compare it to Jim Schwartz over that time.
Yeah.
2nd, 18th, 15th, 12th, 3rd, 6th, 4th in 7 seasons instead of 9 seasons. 4 top 8, no worse than 18th. Like, Jim Schwartz is by the record, a much better defensive coordinator.
You don't have to sell me on Jim Schwartz. Yeah, I mean, I think Kellen Moore's had success as an OC in this league. When you look at it and you say, so if you take the head coach out of it, I know you can't take the head coach out of it, but would you rather Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio, or would you rather Mike LaFleur and Chris Shula? I would probably rather Kellen Moore.
But you're
and
also
Vic
saying
Fangio.
the track record. We've never seen Nick Sirianni do this role.
Well, no,
as the
but
head
wait.
coach.
So then I look at Nick Sirianni's track record as a head coach, and I think Nick gets underrated. In 3 years as a head coach, he's brought his team to the playoffs 3 years, all 3 years, to Super Bowl once. Has had double-digit wins in 2 of those seasons. His down year was like 11-6. Now they collapsed, right? But I mean, there are coaches who get extensions after 11-6, right? That's Nick Sirianni's down year. And then I look at the coaching staff. I see much more experience at the position coach level than they had in the past. I mean, like I said, Clinton Hurt. He has, he's obviously done it before. Doug Nussmeier's been an established quarterbacks coach. I'm not saying it's like the right hire. I don't know that, but there's more of a track record to go off of with Doug Nussmeier than there is Alex Tanney. So I think the staff overall. There's success at the head coach level. There's experience at the coordinator level and the position coach level. That's why they're number 2. When I was ranking this, I did lend more credence, if you will, to established success because I can't say Chris Shula is going to have success as the Rams defensive coordinator. I just don't know that yet.
Okay. Who is your number 6?
My number 6 is the Detroit Lions.
Interesting. They're my number 3.
They're your number 3. Okay. I mean, we've seen what Dan Campbell's done with the Lions here. Ben Johnson turned down head coaching jobs or opportunities. Aaron Glenn, very well regarded in the league. The numbers aren't great, but then you look at like the NFLPA survey. He was, I think, the defense coordinator most players wanted to play for. I think there's value in that. And then I'd like some of the members of the staff. Dave Phipp, I've seen firsthand the success that he has. Scotty Montgomery has, he's a former college head coach. So yeah,
This is one where I would not sign up for the Lions for like their coaching staff for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're maybe getting a little too big for their britches at the moment. But on a 1 year sample size, I like having the head coach who is aggressive on 4th down, and I think Ben Johnson is a very good offensive coordinator.
Okay.
So I'm signing up for that just for 1 year.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. Who do you got at number 5?
Number 5, I have the Baltimore Ravens, like we said.
Okay. And I have the Rams here.
Okay.
And
we'll talk about the Rams a few times. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I've got the Niners at 4.
Okay.
And like the Shanahan versus McVay, it's very tight. I would probably rather have McVay, although Shanahan is a little bit more aggressive in game management than McVay is. We talk about how frustrating it is that both of these guys are these like offensive mavens, but don't trust their offense when it matters. But this is where like the tie to me was broken by the rest of the staff because of guys like Kukurik, and I mean actually that's basically it because
Brandon Staley.
Yeah, that doesn't mean much to
I mean,
me. Brandon
Staley's been a high level. If you're giving Chris Shula credit for the Rams, you got to.
Well, I'm not giving Chris Shula credit.
You're just going with the head coaching right
yeah,
now. Yeah,
I
mean, Brandon Staley was an accomplished defensive coordinator with the Rams. He brought the Chargers to the postseason. Collapsed last year.
Had terrible defenses.
As like what is he now? The assistant head coach, senior advisor, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Nick Sorensen is the defensive coordinator.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's fine.
Right. I had the Niners 5.
Okay. So then who was your 4?
My 4 is the Cleveland Browns.
Okay. They're my number 2.
They're your number 2. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is one I actually thought I was going to be higher on than you were. I think Kevin Stefanski is an outstanding coach. I think he's an outstanding play caller. He's had success with different quarterbacks. I think Jim Schwartz, I've said it before, is as good a defense coordinator as you'll find in the league. Ken Dorsey, I mean, the Bills got better when Ken Dorsey left last year, but he has had success as an OC. So, but it really is Stefanski's offense. I like this Brown staff.
Yeah, to me, it's like Jim Schwartz is the defensive coordinator that I trust the most in the league. And then I think Stefanski does good stuff on offense. And he has had, when his quarterbacks have been not Deshaun Watson, a very good offensive track record. I'm with you that Dorsey is not super exciting. But I'm pounding the table for Schwartz.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like Schwartz. I feel as if you have this extensive spreadsheet and it just comes down to, does the head coach go for it on fourth down? Do I like the offensive play caller?
Well, I mean, a lot of that stuff is what matters to me.
Okay.
I mean, it's not just the go for it.
Yeah,
on fourth
no,
down,
I was being simplistic.
Yeah, how good is the offense? How reliably good is the offense?
Okay. No.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the most important thing.
Okay.
Did you just time travel forward 50 years and not know that that's how the NFL works these days?
Well, I think leadership matters. I think demonstrated success matters, right? Like, I think you'd see like Mike Tomlin in the winner's circle, but you'll say, what about this coach who lost in the first round who had the number 3 DVOA, right? Like,
what winner's circle has Mike Tomlin been in?
He has held the Lombardi Trophy, has he not?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Okay. I
mean, you don't have him in your top 10?
Yeah, dude, the Steelers.
We're gonna get to the Steelers?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, everybody's going to need to maybe get some pharmaceuticals because this could get wild. And with a My Pharmacy account at Rite Aid, you can refill your prescriptions, schedule a vaccine, get personalized care recommendations, sign up for prescription notifications. All you need to get started is a prescription at Rite Aid. Get started at riteaid.com/mypharmacy. I thought that we had gone over all the teams who were still left on the board. This is nuts. Stop stressing about your prescriptions. Let Rite Aid refill them automatically. Enroll in automated courtesy refills. It's free, easy, and most prescriptions qualify. Talk with your Rite Aid pharmacist or sign up through your My Pharmacy account at riteaid.com. Restrictions may apply. Manage prescriptions with the Rite Aid mobile app. Transfer or refill your subscriptions. Set up medication reminders. Enroll in prescription notifications. Download from the Apple App Store or Google Play. Transfer your prescriptions to Rite Aid today. Just go to riteaid.com/transfer. Rite Aid, caring pharmacist ready to answer your questions and help you stay healthy. Get your prescriptions along with anything at Rite Aid you may need, including over-the-counter medicines, household products, cosmetics, and more. Just ask your pharmacy team for details. Restrictions apply.
Bo probably thinks I had some Miller Lite when I put this list together. I promise you I was not drinking, but, sometimes people have Miller Lite when they're together having a good time, like when they win the Super Bowl. And I certainly gave credence to coaches who've won the Super Bowl before. A lot's changed over the years. One thing that hasn't is the great taste of Miller Lite. Another thing that hasn't is that it's less filling. So what is the best thing about original light beer? Miller Lite sparked this debate in 1975, and we still haven't settled it. The great thing about Miller Lite is that it's a light beer that tastes great. It keeps it simple. Undebatable quality, great taste, only 96 calories. It's the beer that strips away everything you don't need and holds on to what matters most. A light beer that tastes like beer, less filling, and only 96 calories. The original light beer since 1975. You don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLY birds, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
All right. Gird your loins, everybody.
Who's your number 3, Bo? Or are we at 4? Okay.
My Lions are 3 and the Browns are 2.
Okay.
Make the case.
Did you say you're 4?
San Francisco.
Okay. Make the case for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
At number 3.
And number 3. Okay. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season as a head coach. Okay. I think from a leadership perspective, from an organizational structure perspective, he is elite. Okay. He gets his players ready to play every week. I think his shortcoming in recent years has been his offensive coordinator. I think they've had a poor offensive coordinator in Matt Canada. I don't think they've had great quarterback play either. I think Arthur Smith is a major upgrade at offensive coordinator, which you should appreciate, okay? People say he's your doppelganger.
I will walk off the set right now if you say it again.
Okay. Okay. Arthur Smith, if you just look at his offenses in Tennessee, they were efficient, okay? They were successful. Those teams were successful. I liked the Arthur Smith hire in Pittsburgh. I was underwhelmed by his offense in Atlanta, which he did oversee. Okay, but I think I think as an OC, he's a major upgrade over Matt Canada. This is a team that's never had a losing season. Terrell Austin's been a 4-time defensive coordinator in this league, right? He has experience in that role. And yeah, I think that there's so the reason I'm going for it here is there's a demonstrated record of success. The high watermark has led to Lombardi trophies. The low watermark never finishes with a losing record. I think that they upgraded their Achilles heel. And yeah, I mean, I'm not like saying the Pittsburgh Steelers are amazing, but I will die on the Mike Tomlin hill if I have to. Okay.
Well,
I mean, you can make the argument that Mike Tomlin's not a top 10 coach. I will.
I actually think Mike Tomlin is a top 10 coach. I think Mike Tomlin's a very good head coach. There's a little bit of inconsistency, it feels like, with you overweighting the head coach here and not doing it with the rest of your list.
No, because his staff, I think Arthur Smith in the OC job is established, is successful, has demonstrated success as an OC. Terrell Austin has demonstrated success as a defensive coordinator.
I mean, you're reaching back a long time for the Tomlin Lombardi to like really hoist that up.
Yeah, this was like a thing on the Discord. I
mean, do you have Sean Payton on your list?
I don't have Sean Payton on my list.
Okay.
But I do have to have Mike Tomlin here.
I think this is. I mean,
I think
I think at 3 is a wild take.
Wild, okay. I mean, look, reasonable minds can disagree. You might think I'm an unreasonable mind here. I don't think it here. Let's look at Mike Tomlin's last 5 seasons. Okay, 10-7, 9-8, 9-7-1, 12-4, 8-8. Okay, he's had double-digit win seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. He said double-digit win seasons. Okay, he's been to the championship game 4 times. Like Super Bowl champs here, lost this championship. So 3 times in the championship game. Okay,
and
he has not won a playoff game
in the last 9 years.
He has not won a playoff game since 2016. I did think actually Tomlin that like Carolina should have gone after him as like a change of scenery coach, like similar to what Andy Reid did at the end. But yeah, I think Mike Tomlin is elite at having his teams, ready to play. His team's competitive. There's a reason, like I see the mocking never had a losing season. I mean, there are coaches who you ranked who've had multiple losing seasons. Mike Tomlin has not, and I think he upgraded his staff this offseason by adding Arthur Smith. So if I did this exercise last year, I probably would have had the Steelers down at like 8 or 9. I think Arthur Smith gives him a big bump at OC.
I'm so flabbergasted I don't even know what to say.
You're flabbergasted? I mean...
Yeah, I am flabbergasted. At 3.
Yeah. So you're all in on Sean McVay, but not on Mike Tomlin.
I would rather have Sean McVay than Mike Tomlin, yes.
Yeah, you football hipsters are going to love you.
No, the people who know that scoring points is a thing that matters in the NFL.
Scoring points does matter. So does winning games. And like Mike Tomlin.
I'm pretty sure that Sean McVay has won more games over the past 5 years than Mike Tomlin has, even with a non-winning season.
I'm not.
He certainly won more playoff games.
I love Sean McVay. I think Sean McVay is an outstanding coach.
I hate being painted into being the Sean McVay defender. That's not what I want to be.
Your argument here is anti-Mike Tomlin. So be it.
I like Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin's maybe the best leader of men of the head coaches in the NFL. That's great. But
he knows a lot about football too. He has his guys ready to play. Yeah, I think he's. Yeah,
I think his willingness to keep Matt Canada as long as he did is probably a strike against him.
sure. But he doesn't have him there now, right? So I'm not gonna give him a strike that Matt Canada was his offensive coordinator last year. I actually give him a boost because he improved at the OC level.
Wow, number 3. I mean, are people as shocked as I am? Yes. Okay.
Okay,
That's good to know.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just an interesting peek into your brain.
I don't
It's
know.
nice that you still you can still find a way to surprise me.
You're so
We're still
vociferous.
spicing things
Yeah,
up.
yeah. It's like anyone who disagrees. Like I don't.
This is
feel,
good. I was expecting to have some differences on this one. This is fun.
I don't feel like I'm not going to defend my Commander's pick. Right? There are better picks there. Okay. I will defend Mike Tomlin.
I don't know. It's hard to decide which is more wild.
The Commanders at 10 and
Yeah.
coaching staff.
I think probably the Commanders at 10 is crazier.
Yeah. I mean, I like Mike Tomlin. Guilty as charged.
Okay.
Guilty as charged. Okay? I like Mike Tomlin.
And now you have the Eagles at 2.
Yeah. You're 2?
Cleveland.
Okay.
Which I feel is too high for me.
Okay.
Because I don't think that Stefanski has done quite enough to be held in that esteem. But like 2 through 7 for me is all very close together.
Okay.
I think we obviously have the same number 1.
The Arizona Cardinals.
The Arizona Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon, Drew Petzing, and Nick Rallis.
Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs, number 1.
Kansas City Chiefs, number 1.
And there's a big chasm between number 1 and the next.
A huge chasm.
Yeah.
Can I? Here's an Andy
or
Reid.
A big gulf, I should say.
Here's an Andy Reid stat for you. Okay. 1999 was his first year as head coach, right? That year,
yes,
the Eagles, the year where the Eagles were 31st in offensive DVOA.
Mm-hmm.
In the 25 seasons since, or no, I guess 24 seasons since, how many times has Andy Reid's offense ranked in the bottom half of the league, below 16th, in 24 years?
How many times? I would say 2.
2.
2. Is that
2005 and 2012.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep. And he was playing
22 of 24, and there's like 16 of them are in the top 10.
He was playing his backup
insane.
quarterback both times. Yeah. That's a good point.
Unbelievable. I mean, you got, Spags has plenty of his own merit, right? There's a bunch of guys who you will like as like demoted positions throughout the coaching staff, starting with Matt Nagy.
Yep.
But I mean, even if you are thinking that Patrick Mahomes is responsible for 80% of that over the past 6 years, the Andy Reid track record is just unbelievable.
I agree. You don't have to sell me on Andy Reid. Best coach in the NFL, best staff in the NFL. What Spags has done there is terrific. Your boy as special teams coordinator, Dave Taub.
That's the other thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
As just a cherry on top, they have the best special teams coordinator in the history of the NFL.
Yeah. Again, I don't like how this show has kind of turned me into like anti-McVay because I think Sean McVay is awesome coach, awesome mind. But it's always befuddled me that like every coach hire has to be from the McVay tree, whereas like the Reid tree to me is awesome, and like that should be picked on more.
Maybe not as much as the Tomlin tree, but
yeah, actually,
or
one
the
of the
Quinn
shortcomings,
tree.
one of the shortcomings of Tomlin, I would say, is that his staff hasn't gone on like to become great head coaches. Maybe that shows how elite of a head coach he is.
Was there anybody else who you considered on the outside that you'd like to?
The Rams.
The Rams.
The Rams. I would certainly put in.
I have a speculative bet on the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
I'm a big Mike McDonald guy, and Ryan Grubb.
I like
from Coach Flynn just saying like this is the most fun offense to watch in college football.
I would agree there.
I had him at 12, just purely speculation.
Okay.
Plus they've got Leslie Frazier in the building, so that's one where I would if I was talking your language, I would buy some stock in the Seahawks coaching staff.
Yeah.
Did you consider the Jags?
I actually did. Ryan Nielsen at DC, solid, but minimal track record there. I think I'd like Press personally. I think there's been like inconsistencies with his offense as a play caller. Doug has won a Super Bowl. He's been in the winner's circle, so that does matter. I did consider the Jags. Ultimately, I obviously did not go with them.
And did you consider the Indianapolis Colts?
Yeah, I did briefly. Again, it's similar to the Texans for me. I need to see a little bit more of it. Now, the difference between the Texans and the Colts is that the Texans DC's done it longer, right? In Gus Bradley, but I do like Matt Burke. I just think that I just need to see a little bit more of it, right? Like making the playoffs in year one, losing in the first round. Certainly, if we do this list in a year, he could be higher up there. I think for rankings, I need, for rankings of this nature, I need to go based on accomplishments more than kind of predictive analysis.
You don't have to do anything.
But that's my way of doing it. Like I like Ryan Grubb.
Let me ask you. Let me frame it this way to close. Mm-hmm. Now that you, if you had the opportunity, you have the Eagles at 2, but reframing it, if the opportunity was presented to you to trade the entire Eagles staff for the entire other staffs in the league, so you would get the McVay or you would get the Kyle Shanahan, where would you rank the Eagles? Are there teams who you would push ahead of them if you were factoring in the head coach more? Would Mike Tomlin be there?
That's a good question, because to me, it's like you can replace your coordinators much easier than you can replace your coach, right? So, yeah, I would trade Nick Sirianni for Sean McVay. I would do that. So if you're just doing like, would you trade this staff for that staff? Yeah, I would trade for Mike Tom, or I'm sorry, I would trade for Sean McVay.
How many would you do?
That's a different. So that's basically a head coach ranking, and
well, I think that if you would make the case, right, that if it's close, you would take
Kellen
Moore and Vic Fangio, right?
Exactly.
But
yeah. I would need to look through it to give you an educated answer on it. Let's say if you just took the head coach I don't have a strong answer for you right now. Okay. I know we need to have good takes.
Think it over. Give us an answer tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Would you after this conversation change anything about your list? No.
I mean, I not necessarily.
You remind me of Bob Knight sometimes in this respect. Okay, not here. There's a great Bob.
Well,
Knight
I mean,
story.
I went through the process the way that I went through a process, and you went through it differently.
So Bob Knight, I heard this story actually from, I read it, I think, from Rick Riley or Jim Murray, or maybe Dick Schaap. Sorry, Bob
maybe
Knight,
John Feinstein.
Yeah, Bob Knight's out duck hunting with Woody Hayes, I believe it is, and I've never hunted duck before, but so he shoots it. The duck keeps flying, and he turns and he says, "Now that's a confident duck, a dead duck flying." Do you get it?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
Can you appreciate that the appropriate closing to this show of you comparing me to Bob Knight would be for me to choke you, but I will not do that.
I'm not comparing your values to Bob Knight. I'm saying Bob Knight, that's an example of like Bob Knight's supreme confidence. We just did an hour exercise.
I went through the process knowing what mattered to me, and I went through it and did it correctly based on my own assertions. You didn't even know what you were doing.
So
you couldn't decide what you were evaluating.
This hour exercise, and I said, you know what? After discussion, that's something I would do differently. That's something I would do differently. I said, is there anything on your list you would reconsider? And you're like, nah, I'm good. Well, I'm right. Like, yeah. I just show, I think that demonstrates like a difference in
no, do it right the first time.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
If you do the work the first time, you don't have to do it again.
This isn't a matter of doing the work. Okay.
I'm sorry to say that you did not compel me with your Washington Commanders argument that I should have them in the top 10.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'd consider the Chargers, maybe. I might bump up the Ravens like a spot or two. I don't love having the Browns at 2, but I don't have a better answer than that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Fair enough.
What did you think that you had convinced me on something? Should I have the Steelers at 5?
I thought that, I thought maybe the Ravens would be higher for you. The Steelers, the Chargers will be higher for you. Yeah, basically, you just want like an offensive head coach. How many defensive head coaches?
Welcome to the league.
Okay. How many defensive head coaches do you have in your top 10 besides D'Amico? You have D'Amico 10.
I mean, Harbaugh is not an offensive head coach. He's
yeah.
Dan Campbell's not an offensive head coach, but yeah, I mean, yes.
Okay.
How many defensive head coaches has Jeffrey Lurie hired?
1.
Okay.
Yeah. And he fired him after 4 years.
Yeah.
Ray Rhodes.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I think that.
Yeah, I'm sorry that's. I have an operating philosophy of how the NFL works these days.
Okay. And I've seen Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh. So actually, those are the only. And I have Dan Quinn in there. These are coaches who've made the Super Bowl, who've had demonstrated success. Now, Dan Quinn had it with Kyle Shanahan as his offensive coordinator. That might have been the key, right? We'll see about Kingsbury, but I look at like if you show me that you've done it, maybe I am anchored to that. But it's not just like I'm saying.
This is like the Julio Jones debate.
It's not like I'm saying Mike Tomlin, but no, it's not, because Mike Tomlin's had success as a coach these last 5 years. Like his low watermark is 9-8 basically.
Yeah, I like Mike Tomlin as a head coach.
So yes, when I'm looking at this, so I thought Mike Tomlin's biggest deficiency was his offensive coordinator, and I thought he upgraded at offensive coordinator. I don't think that's a controversial take.
No, but 3 is a controversial take.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow for betting predictions.
Let's just keep it live until then.
Yeah. No. I got places I need to go. But we'll be back tomorrow for over-unders. Back tomorrow at noon?
No, not noon.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I apologize. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
Yes.
We got an old school basement episode tomorrow, 4 o'clock. And if you want to keep the conversation going, the Flyers show is live. Click on over to that. They are talking about the latest on Matvei Michkov. Did I pronounce that right?
I'm not the pronunciation guy.
Okay. And some Philadelphia Flyers mock draft picks. So go check out Charlie and Bill. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock and then noon on Friday. For all of us here at PHLY, thanks for listening. Thank you for watching. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.